This is the Intelligent Human Voice Podcast Network. I'm your host, the PatMan, from the Bay to LA and beyond. If you're just tuning in, this is episode number 39. That means I've been podcasting for 39 episodes. And the plan is to, record something every day, 7 days a week. Why not? If you got a podcast platform and you're paying for it, you might as well say what's on your mind. And what's on my mind this evening, it can get a little emotional, people. So, for those who don't know me, who may be listening to the show for the very first time, I'm going to give you a quick blurb about who I am, who I've been, what I've done on the planet so far, and just take it from there. And then I'll regroup, try to stay on point with subject matter today. And the subject matter today is family secrets. Family secrets. I think this is something that everyone can relate to. Whatever it is, some tidbit of information that you may not have known about, or you may have just discovered about, or you still don't know. So I'm going to go into this because the emotions right now are really high. And, I just, I need to vent. I need to vent. And after I do it, after I let it out this time, I feel like I could now move forward in my life, like really move forward. I just had a very awesome 3-hour meeting with, some really awesome friends I haven't hung out with in a while, who are, pretty much native to LA, and or who has been here, just as long as I have, if not longer, definitely longer. But we had a meeting of the minds, and some $1 million ideas are coming out and being executed, and just knocking it out. So I that's why I feel even better about getting this stuff off my chest and recording this podcast tonight, because after this, I really don't want to talk about it. I don't want to bring it up or talk about it. And maybe I'll put this in a audiobook. That's the idea, is to take a bunch of and this was an idea from one of the podcast shows I was listening to. This guy who's been doing podcasting for a while, since 2005. He basically took a series of maybe like 5 or 6 of his podcasts and put it into an audiobook and sold it on Amazon, just like that. Brilliant. So where do I start? Let's start with origins. So, so I was, I'm from the Bay Area, born and raised. I come from a really big family. There's 7 siblings total, including myself. It's 7. We all don't share the same father, but we have the same mother. I grew up in apartments in North Oakland. And it was trippy. It was a little trippy because all my friends around me pretty much grew up in houses, with garages and attics and romper rooms, what they used to call rumpus rooms. And I grew up in these apartments. My mom was a chef for the Oakland public schools. She was a cook for the schools. but we spent the most of our, she didn't always work at school. She worked at schools after, my teen years, pretty much raised her 7 siblings or my 7 brothers and sisters. And then she started working. So for the most part, during the time I was in grade school growing up, we were on welfare. My mother received food stamps. She's on welfare. We were on welfare, but she always managed to keep clothes on our back, shoes on our feet, food on the table. From what I could tell, there wasn't a starving day in my life. There was one time she tried to tell us that powdered milk was like regular milk. I'm like, no, not the same thing. If you got to add water to that, I'm good. I mean, I know they water down regular milk, but whatever. I went to all the local schools. Went to Santa Fe Elementary, and then Carter Middle School, and then Oakland Technical High School. Attended Laney College. Attended a couple other colleges in the neighborhood. Very super creative, just naturally creative. I love to. Well, I don't draw as much now, but growing up, I was always drawing. I was always doodling. That was my way of escaping. I was a quiet kid, but not that quiet. I was quiet. I was quiet around people I didn't know. I was shy. I loved women. I mean, still love women, but I was highly attracted to just beautiful women. I remember going through Jet magazine. If it's still around, I think Jet's still around. But Jet magazine used to have these swimsuit models, and just couldn't wait to see the Jet beauty. So I started taking them out and putting them on the wall. So you go in my room, you see nothing but Jet beauties all over the place. And there was like some of the finest women, because during the time, this was the 70s, and into the 80s. The women nowadays, hot to death. And so when I would see these Jet beauties in Jet magazine, I was like, I've never seen any women like this. I mean, I've never seen girls like this. I mean, what the, nappy hair, it was night and day, yo. It was just night and day. And, seeing these beautiful women, I was like, yo, one day I'm gonna have a hot chick like this, like a Jet beauty. And I'm sure I wasn't the only guy that did that. But back to the art stuff. I really like to draw. I was naturally attracted to art and music. I was in the drum corps. I was in the Oakland drum corps, and for about 4 years, I wanted to be in the drum corps, like right off the back. We used to have these school assemblies, and the drum corps would march in. The drums be loud, and I remember this vaguely too. I have a good memory, but there's some things that have happened in my life where I can't remember things, but there's certain things I really remember. And that was, seeing the drum corps for the first time at school assembly, thinking like, yo, I gotta be a part of that. 'Cause I was always bamming on something, or, getting the music out of my head. And I had had to do something about that. So I wanted to join the drum corps, and I was told that, nope, can't be in the drum corps. You have to be in the 4th grade. And I was like, wow, okay. I guess I got to wait till the 4th grade. In the meantime, as the years went on, I was a drum corps major. I started getting these keyboards, Casio keyboards, every Christmas. First I had the little white Casio SK, and then the SK1, then the SK5. It would sample. I'd be able to sample on these different pads. So I was doing all this stuff, early 80s, before hip hop really became a thing. I was sampling music with the Casio keyboard sampler. It was just when, what's some artists I really remember? Eric B. and Rakim, Rodney O. and Joe Cooley, of course, Too Short. Too Short was big in Oakland, big time. You couldn't drive a block or two without hearing somebody's car rattling some Too Short song where he's cursing up a storm. I was like, I can't play that stuff around here. My brother did, though. We grew up in the church. My grandfather was a minister. He had a little small church in West Oakland off of Peralta Street. Peralta Street is near, it's like borderline Emeryville, just before you're getting onto the freeway, heading over to the San Francisco Bay Bridge. There was a liquor store. I remember there being a liquor store at the corner where the church was. I was told that my grandfather wasn't always a minister. He worked at the naval base. There used to be a naval base in Alameda. And then when he retired, I was told that I didn't know about the naval base thing. And I'm just receiving a lot of this information from talking to my oldest sister. I remember my grandfather, vaguely, big time. He was there until he died of I would say he died of a broken heart and complications from diabetes. But that's going to tie into a lot of stuff that I'm going to talk about. My grandfather, after he retired, I was told that he was a shoe salesman. And he sold Brock's candy. Now, if you know Brock's now sells the little candies, little wrapped up candies, mostly those little orange slices. But during the 70s and probably the 60s, I don't know how long Brock's had been around, but my grandfather was selling like fruitcakes and katydids. They were like these turtles. What they called turtles back then. There was like chocolate and caramel and nuts. And then there was these katydids, and there were these peanut butter crunchies. It was ridiculous. It's almost, if I was to describe the peanut butter crunchies, it was like this golden candy that tastes like, I guess, equivalent to a Butterfinger or something. Or Chico stick, if you remember Chico sticks. I don't care about dating myself. I don't care. I've been on the planet for a long time. A little too long. Not too long, I won't say that. So yeah, my grandfather sold fruitcakes all in the neighborhood. It was a trip. I had heard that, okay, so here's another thing. So, my mother's side of the family, religious. Father's side of the family, not at all. Except for one relative who was part of Church of Christ. So, all that to say that I was always in church. Always in church. Wednesdays, choir rehearsal Fridays, Sunday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We would go to other churches, like, after dinner, and we got one Pop-Tart. We got one Pop-Tart for breakfast. One freaking Pop-Tart. That Pop-Tart had to last us from the time we woke up till maybe 1 or 2 o'clock. That's when service would be over. And sometimes if it was like the third Sunday, we would eat just enough to eat. Don't get your clothes dirty. Don't get too comfortable. Don't get a nap, because we about to head over to Vallejo. That's Vallejo, to congregate with, what we called our sister church. And that's what we did. We fellowshipped with other churches. And so I was always in church. It's crazy. Being told things like, celebrate a white Jesus, and that hell and damnation is inevitable, and sin, and all the stuff that goes with going to church. And it bothered me a lot. It created a lot of fear. But I was the kind of person where, super, super sharp, super smart, questioning things. And I would ask questions, and the answers I would receive from some adults was like, they either didn't know, they didn't act like they knew. And even if they shared the answers with me, I wasn't confident that what they were telling me was the truth. So I spent a lot of time. I didn't care to hang on the streets. I'd spend a lot of time in the libraries, even at school, at the library, studying, reading, anything that just appealed to me. Science, metaphysics, psychic stuff, all kind of everything. I just read everything, and I would retain this stuff, and I would, I won't say pretend. I guess it wasn't a pretending, but I would pretend I had superpowers, as a kid. Ain't that a trip? There's a guy, LeSean Vince. I don't want to mess up his name. He's with Mind Valley. If you know what Mind Valley is, he teaches about how to bend reality, like right now in in 2019. And when I heard his webinar, I was like, that's a trip. He's talking about bending reality and superpowers. I was like, I've always had superpowers. I've always been tapped in. But I didn't share these things with people. And what I mean is that, like, we would come to a light. My mom didn't drive, by the way. She never learned how to drive. Even till this day, she can't drive. She couldn't drive if she wanted to, but she don't drive. But we'd be in a car with, other people, and we'd come to a light, and I would do something with my eyes, like, to say the light would change. And a lot of times it changed. It would change all the time. A lot of things I would do, and believed in it enough to feel like I had superpowers. And tests, I would take tests, and the answers would just come to me, and I would pass. I'd be sitting there like, wow, I passed. I never studied for anything. I just knew the answers. And I was a straight A kid. Math, letters and numbers, when they got to letters and numbers, it just started to confuse the hell out of me. It was like seeing another language, so to speak. That kind of messed me up. But I really enjoyed English, really enjoyed history. History was a trip because I never felt like what we were being told was even remotely the truth. In some of the classrooms, most of the classrooms, there were, pictures of Egypt and Africa and African kings and queens, and telling how, when they were in positions of power in Africa, and I would always question, like, okay, if we are kings and queens, how the hell why are you teaching us about, what happened with Europe and Vikings and Romans and all this other nonsense? Because, when did we stop being kings and queens? That was my question as a kid. Never got the answers. Never received the answers. So I sought the answers for myself. And thank God. Because I wasn't accepting the truths that they were teaching us. The books in school were not relevant of Black history. Actually, the history was very convoluted, because I would read certain stuff in the textbooks, and then I would go to the library and I would read up on stuff. I'm like, this doesn't match up. This doesn't match up. Hey people, this doesn't match up. And yeah, that's how that went. So I had a lot of friends. They knew me for being quiet, shy, chill, giant afro like Michael Jackson. And in fact, a lot of people in the neighborhood and wherever else would call me Little Michael Jackson. It used to piss me off. Because in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm not Michael Jackson. And there could only be one Michael Jackson. And I just remember hearing his name all the time, and I never even knew who this guy was. In fact, I would see pictures of him, and I'd be like, that's not me. I could see how I saw, as I got older, I saw these pictures of Michael Jackson as a kid, and I go, okay, I can see how, why folks would say that. But in my mind, I was like, there's only one me and there's one him. So, get over yourself. And ironically, I was naturally attracted to music, and there's something to that as well that I want to talk about. My brother under me, 1 year under me, we were night and day. He had sandy red hair. I had not red hair, but it was like really brown. My brother looked like my father. I looked like my mom. That's what we was always told. People would always just come over. Oh, you're so cute, so cute, so cute, so sweet, so cute. Yeah, hear that enough. And I was a cool kid. I didn't make trouble. My brother, he made trouble. He was always getting into trouble too. He was a menace to the neighborhood and to the household. But this was after, my older siblings, they became older and then they moved out. The thing is, I vaguely remember, the household with all of us in the household. Those memories are kind of sketchy because my sister, she left. It's like when everyone turned, after their graduations, they just bounced and they just never came back. My sister, she came to LA. My brother, he went off to the army. My other sister, she hung about, around my mom's until my mom's kicked her out. Literally, seriously kicked her out. You got to go. It's my house, my rules. You don't want to follow my rules, get the hell out. Those apartments were, and they're still around. It was a trip because you don't know any better. You you say home, people say home, you think of home. That's your home. But it was apartment. As I would visit cousins and friends and, walk home from school, and, people would, be like, oh, it's my house right there. I was like, wow, you live in the house? And like, where you live? Oh, I'm right there, apartments. It was embarrassing. I'm not going to even front. It was embarrassing. I was, there was a few friends once I got older, because my mom was really strict about us not going around the corner. Don't go around that corner. You better not go around that corner. If you go around that corner, somebody gonna see you. I know you. I know they gonna see you. She was always nervous about, the cars would be flying. Some Grove Street in Oakland, which is now Martin Luther King. So cars would always be flying, and she was just a nervous wreck about something happening to one of us. So we never got to go anywhere unless we went to the park. If we went to the park, we went to the park collectively, but we weren't allowed to roam around the corner and down the street until we got, a little older. And, but here's the thing too. Quick little story share with you. I'll never forget it. How could I? It showed my independence at an early age. So, first day of school, kindergarten, they put a pin on you and tag a little note to your clothes, and you wait for your mom or whoever's going to pick you up. And then the second class went in, like the second part of class, because kindergarten was so big, they broke it up into two classes. So that, I'm out there waiting for my mom, and I'm looking around like, where is this lady? I mean, what the heck? And this voice, I had this voice inside my head all the time. All the time I had this voice. And this voice was a cynical MF. A very cynical MF. And, I could be the nice kid, but this voice would just say things that just, was funny to me. And I wouldn't say it out loud, but I would think it, and as I got older, I started saying whatever the voice was saying. But I remember this voice going, I'm saying like, where is this lady at? I mean, school is, I've been standing out here for about 15 minutes or so, I was like, so the voice is like, yo, you know where the crib is, you know where you live. Just go in, cross the street. The crossing guards are there. You cross the street and walk straight up and to the right, and you're home. So the kindergarten me did exactly that. And I remember walking and looking all around, and dogs barking, and nobody stopped me. Nobody, they saw me walking, but nobody said anything. And everything looked familiar from the walk that we made. And, I looked both ways and crossed the street, because there was another street I had to cross before I got to, where we lived. And I came around the corner. I was like, wow, I made it. Wow. Okay. Did that. Walk through the parking lot, walk up the stairs, and I could hear my mother talking. She was on the phone talking to one of her friends. Get, girl, la, 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 blah, 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 blah. And, the screen door was partially open. I knock on the door. Bang, 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 bang. She's like, girl, hold on a second. Let me see who's... Girl, this morning, boy, how you get here? I said, I walked. Where were you? So I've been hanging out in a play yard for God knows how long, and you ain't showed up. So I walked. Girl, let me call you back. This boy done walked home. I must have heard that story at least 90 times that day. 90 times I heard that story over and over again. I was like, my God, it's not a big deal. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks. I don't know, whatever. So, shot myself in the foot with that one because, she's like, well, you walk home, you keep walking home. Walk home by yourself, walk to school by yourself. You're all good. Matter of fact, yeah. So that's how that worked out. Independence. That was funny though. I'll never forget. She was like, boy, what you doing here? How'd you get up this? What? It's like I crossed the street. You look both ways. The cross guards cross you over and walked home. I mean, what was I supposed to do? Wait for you? So, let's flash forward a little bit. I was too shy to have a girlfriend. I was way too shy to talk to girls. There was some girls I thought was cute, but I was like, yo, I'm not saying nothing. You kidding me? To this one girl, must have been 5th or 6th grade, and I'm gonna call her name out. Her name is Cynthia Proctor. I'll never forget it. Cynthia Proctor had a crush on me, because I started to fill out a little bit and got tall, and girls like me. What can I say? Tall dude, girls like you. Well, Cynthia Proctor liked me, and back then you had to, it was weird. You either wrote notes or you asked a girl to go with you. Well, would you go with me? It was the stupidest thing I thought could ever come out of my mouth or anybody else's mouth. It's like, won't you just just be like, look, girl, you my girlfriend or something like that. That was my thing. I was like, I'm not, would you go with me? I got to ask you to be my girl. Just be my girlfriend. That's how it should have went down, but it didn't go down like that. So I'll never forget it. I have two buddies who I'm still friends with all these years from kindergarten. My buddy Rick, and Rick was like, Rick was a jock. He played basketball and all different sports. I knew all the jocks. All the jocks knew me. They was cool, but I couldn't play a lick of sports. I had 2 left feet and just no eye-hand coordination. So everybody knew I didn't play sports. So I wasn't getting any women by playing sports. But, I had all my buddies played sports, and it was cool. I would watch them and I would root for them. That's how it went down. So, one day, Rick's like, Rick's talking to this girl, and he's like, I forget her name, but he's like, she was friends with Cynthia, and he said, yo, Pat, yo, this girl want to talk to you, man. She been jockeying. She been talking about you the whole time. Man, she want to be your girlfriend, man. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, man, you need to go talk to her, man. I was like, nah, man, not talking to her, not going over there. She's cute, but no, you kidding me? Man, he's like, he put me on front because she was like on the stairs, or we were like standing, we were like standing in the courtyard, and she's standing over here, and he's like, dude, man, stop being a pussy. Go over there and say something to her. I was like, oh my God, this guy just called me a pussy in front of these girls. I could just die right now. I could just die. So I mustered up the energy to, go over and like, hey, would you, I was sweating. I was sweating, hands, sweaty palms, sweat on my forehead, afro sweating. I was like, gosh, this is probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So I go over, I was like, all right, would you go with me? She was like, yes. I was like, great. And then she kissed me, and she's like, all right, here's my number. Call me later. I was like, all right. And just like that, my boy Rick was like, and he's like, man, I can't believe you just did that. You just took so long to do that. This girl's been talking about you like for weeks now. I had to get her out my ear type of thing. I was like, well, can't help that. So, so after that, it was a trip. It was a trip. Cynthia was, what you would call a little fast mama. She was cute though. Light skin. She had the curly hair. She was cute. She came to school the next day, she had lipstick on, she had put a little eyeliner on. I was like, my God, what is going on here? What is happening? And then she just I just remember us chasing each other around the courtyard and playing and holding hands, and everybody knew we were boyfriend, girlfriend. I was like, oh, this is so awkward and weird. This is driving me. It was weird. I didn't know how to have a girlfriend. It's crazy. I was like, what do you do? If we would sit next to each other, in assemblies. She'd make googly eyes at me while we were in class. We spent lunchtime together, all kind of stuff. I don't think it lasted too long. I think it, oh man, let me tell you, I think it maybe lasted maybe a couple weeks. And, she, peep this, she broke up with me. The girl jocked me, then she broke up with me. I mean, what? So peep how she broke up with me. And I'm not getting off subject. This is just funny that I'm bringing up these memories here. This girl, it was after school. Yeah, we were together maybe about 2 weeks, and we was talk on the phone forever, 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm like, get off my damn phone. Get off my phone. I got to talk. Girls would call and, who's these girls calling you? God dog it, blah, blah, blah. Don't be tired of my phone. And that's when call waiting, the phone click, you better click over. Yo, I gotta go. I don't know what we was talking about, but peep this. She would, Cynthia, she couldn't be a woman about it. She told, after school, she told, one of her girls, it was after school, and I was walking away. I remember I had my backpack, and she was like, I think her name was Tanya. She was like, yeah, hey, I gotta talk to you. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, I gotta talk to you for Cynthia. I was like, why Cynthia can't talk to me? She's like, well, she don't want to talk to you. She told me that she want to break up with you. So it's over. I was like, okay. All right. She's like, all right. And then Cynthia, they both walked away. I was like, damn, I just got dumped. I was like, wow, I just got dumped. I didn't know just 2 weeks ago, I didn't know what it felt like to have a girlfriend. Now I just got dumped. Wow. So a few girls actually who saw us, together or hanging out, or saw that we were girlfriend, boyfriend, they were kind of jocking after that. It was a trip. And it's one girl that I'd grown up with since probably, kindergarten. Now this is like the 6th grade still, right? 5th to 6th grade. So we had our 5th and 6th grade was off the hook, by the way. Now that I remember this, because we had this awesome teacher, and she had a big old booty. I'm not even kidding you. She reminded me of Jack A. Harry from 227. Jack A. Harry was like what do you call it? I can't remember. Who framed Roger Rabbit's wife? That's how she was built, and she was, man, she had all the boys, all of us just drooling. Anyway, yeah, we had she took us for our 6th grade, for the 6th grade dance or whatever, or 6th grade party. we went to the roller skating ring, and that was just so much fun. I just remember that being so much fun because we were out of the school, we're all at the roller ring, we're skating, disco skating. No, I'm going back, y'all. I'm going back, and then the sixth grade. Oh, so, okay. So in the sixth grade, I think we had like the school dances. We started having these school dances. So we had the last school dance, and I'm dancing, getting my groove on. You know, I was just getting into the, get my dance on. You know, I was like, yeah, I could dance. You know, I'm not Michael Jackson, but I got better moves than Mike. You know what I mean? This was before Mike was like, Mike. You know, before off the wall Mike. And the music was just awesome. Just remember, this was the 70s. People played instruments and they actually sang. So off the hook. Look at this cat. What is he doing? There's two cats. These are neighborhood cats. No wonder the dogs be going crazy. It's a neighborhood full of cats. Anyway, so I'm getting my groove on, and chicks checking me out. And this one girl that I was cool with, we start dancing. And this was a time where they would play the slow songs, slow jams. So you got to get your slow dance on, right? That was my first time slow dancing. And that was a trip because, little Herbie came up and was in the middle between us, if you know what I'm talking about. And, we didn't kiss, but we were like about to, I think. And we were dancing, and it was kind of weird because I was like, I've been knowing this girl since kindergarten. I can't date this girl. And then she's like, and I was like, well, here's my number. Call me during the, summer, whatever. We never got in touch. But, yeah, that was cool. That was cool. Sixth grade was a trip. So, from the sixth grade, we go into, every year we had to go to vacation Bible school. So when I say we were in church, yes, every summer we were in vacation Bible school. Excuse me. That was with the Church of Christ. Not my grandfather's church. My grandfather's church was a Baptist church. So we go to Church of Christ. Vacation Bible school is where all my cousins and uncles on my father's side of the family, they went. That's where they went. And, summers consisted of us going to churches in there. Wherever there was a Bible school or some kind of summer program for church, that's where we were. So, we had a lot of cousins. I had a lot of cousins that was always around. We were like the neighborhood kids. I mean, we didn't need kids from other neighborhoods come around. They would come to hang out at the apartments where we were. So there was always a lot of kids around. And since our family was so big, there weren't a lot of outside folks within our crew. It was just us. And then the other few kids here and there. Enter junior high school, Carter Middle School. I don't know if I want to go into this too deep, but this was the year, entered the 7th grade. By this time, my grandfather had gotten sick, and it was from diabetes. Didn't really know what diabetes was, didn't understand it. Something to do with sugar. That's all we knew. And my grandmother used to make desserts every Sunday. So after school, after church, we were looking forward to like some peanut butter cookies or a cake or a pie or something. It was just, you never knew. And it was a highlight of Sundays outside of church. Church wasn't really a highlight. And so then, my grandfather, he had diabetes, and he had to have one of his legs amputated. In the meantime, my grandmother was also sick. They had been together for about 47 years at that time. They were married for a very long time. They had many anniversaries at the church, church anniversaries, that I remember. That's when the church was really full. When people would come on Easter Sunday was a big deal. Easter eggs, that's when my mother would come to the church because she went to her church, and some of the older siblings would show up. And yeah, those are the times. So my grandmother, now 7th grade was interesting because I was growing, I was taller. There were some physical attributes about myself I didn't really understand. So I was I wore double shirts all the time. I wore, extra layer of clothes because, there was something a little bit off, and I didn't, the doctor, I did checkups and everything, all the time. Doctors go, "Oh, you're fine. You're all right. Everything's good." And, but I just didn't feel like everything was good. And it turns out, it wasn't. I'll go into that at another podcast. So, my grandmother, she went to the hospital. I remember vaguely. We're all sitting down to eat, and she had been in the hospital, and my sister was there. One of my sisters were there with her the whole time. And she went to the hospital, and I remember my mom getting the call, and she just putting the phone down, and she started crying, and she's like, "Okay." And she's like, "Ma's gone. Ma's passed." I was like, wow. And I didn't eat anymore. I remember sitting there, and my plate was just sitting there, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want to eat. I can't even eat." I mean, it was just that feeling of what is happening here? What just happened? Grandmothers aren't supposed to die, I remember, it was just too much. The energy inside the apartment was just too much. I went outside. Mother was like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "I just need to be outside. I just need to be outside." Just didn't know how to feel. I remember asking, God, like, why? Why is this happening? Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to our family? What is going on? And I think I started to get the answers. That voice. I don't remember too much about the funeral. I just know I was more concerned about my mom. She just was, really trying to hold up, for us. At the time, I believe she had a boyfriend. His name was Tucker. Tucker was around for quite a while. Really awesome guy. I'm skipping through some things because some things happened in between, 6th grade and the 8th grade. Maybe when I was about, maybe when I was like maybe 10 or so. I would say 9 or 10. And this is where the subject of this podcast really kind of begins. My father wasn't really around. He wasn't, meaning my grandmother lived downstairs from us. We lived upstairs. There's about 8 different, maybe 9 apartments. And my grandmother had quite a few kids who I actually had it was like young teenage uncles and aunties. I didn't understand how it all worked out. I really didn't. I was confused. How is that my uncle? How is that my brother? How is that? It just didn't make sense to me. None of it made sense. But my father wasn't around. I don't remember seeing him around much at all. I do remember him coming around, like not upstairs to our place, but he'd be like, yeah, your dad's downstairs. And my brother would run down there, and he was crazy about, oh, daddy, my daddy, my daddy, my daddy. I would come down there, see him, and he would kiss us on the lips or on the forehead, and I just thought it was weird. I just thought he was weird. I really did. I just really thought he was weird. My father's side of the family was really affectionate people. On my mother's side, not so affectionate. We never said, I love you. We never was a hugging family. But on my father's side of the family, they were huggers. They were, just different. I remember my father taking me and all my male cousins to San Francisco in his car to go eat Chinese food. And I was a picky kid, by the way. I didn't eat meat. I didn't eat meat because I just didn't know what meat was. And, you see something frying and dipped in powder and bubbling grease and bleeding, you wouldn't eat it either. So I saw that, and I was like, I'm not eating that shit. Until I got older and I tried a burger and then pepperoni, but anything with a bone attached to it, I've sworn off. Till this day, I won't touch it. Give me a chicken strip or, chicken strip or fish. I liked fish, but I was picky. I was real picky, and Chinese food just stunk. It just stunk to all the be damned. I'm sitting there like, yo, I don't eat no Chinese food. Now, my brother, he knew I was picky. My uncles and cousins, they knew I was a picky kid. So they were like, how is this going to work out? This guy doesn't eat Chinese food. Sure enough, we get there. He's ordering all his food. And I was like, yeah, well, doesn't look like anything I like or I eat. All of it stinks to me. And he made me eat something. It was like some kind of noodle, something. I don't know. It just stunk. And I was like, made me eat it. And I gagged, spit it back out in the plate. And he was embarrassed. He didn't do anything to me there, but when we got in the car, he popped me with a comb and for embarrassing him. And after that, I was done. I told my mom, I was like, you know what? I don't care if this guy never comes around ever again. I was like, I don't want to hang out with him, and I don't care. I was like, he's going to hit me with a comb because I don't want to eat Chinese food. Screw this guy to hell and back, right? So she was okay with that. She's like, well, you ain't gotta go, it's all good. But my brother, on the other hand, he's crazy about him. He's always, oh, my daddy's downstairs, this, that, la, 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 blah, 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 blah. It's like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna watch my cartoons, my superhero cartoons, and I'm good. Enjoy yourself. Knock yourself out. Well, one day, my brother comes up the stairs, and he's crying, tears, like he had gotten a whooping. Cause and the sound was familiar because he was always crying about something not getting his way. My mom, the only way she could punish him, the whoopings didn't work anymore. So her way of punishing this guy for something he did crazy was, you can't go outside. And that just, oh man, this guy, you thought the world was coming to an end. He would just cry and snot running down his nose, and I would just look at him like, dude, you disgust me. You disgust me. And but one day he come upstairs and he's crying. He's like, and my mom's playing cards, I'm watching cartoons, and I'm on the floor watching cartoons. And I look over and I was like, and he's crying. I was like, and he's in that cry like he can't talk, like kind of cry. And my mother's like, boy, what's wrong with you? My daddy said he ain't my daddy, and your mama put that on me. Oh man, my mother was like, what? And oh man, I have to tell you, I'm recollecting this memory right now, and that voice I was telling you about, it went into a rage, a frenzy. And what's a trip is I talked to my sister the other day, and she unloaded some stuff on me that I'm going to get into. But what's a trip is that when this rage clicked in my head, you know, I thought, you know, I felt like I didn't have any control, and I wanted to kill this guy. I really did. I wanted to go grab a knife, and I played it out in my head, and because he had hurt my brother, and on top of that, he had popped me with a comb, so that was double whammy. I was like, dude, you just he's messed up now. But I didn't do anything. I just I remember, you know, going in the back room, my brother, just consulting him for the first time, you know, ever. He was always doing crazy stuff, but he hadn't done anything at this point, you know. And I was like, dude, don't even, if I can remember, I was like, dude, don't even trip off this guy. You know, he's nothing to us. He's never around, you know. And I think my aunties and my grandmother came up, and they came to talk to us, and I didn't really hear anything they had to say. I just was like, whatever, you know, move on with my life. But if I ever see this guy, I was like, if I ever see this guy, I'm like, oof, don't know what I'm gonna do. That incident, I believe, kind of sent, you know, a vibration throughout the universe or something, because the stuff I had read about psychic powers and abilities and super strength and all that, I felt like they became multiplied, if that's a word to use. I felt like I was in control of a lot of things, how things would go in my life. And with my brother, he didn't, you know, my thing was that I said, I'll take it. I took it like, you know, this guy was hardly ever around anyway. He was a weirdo. So it didn't bother me none. It's like my mom was raising us anyway, so screw this guy. Brother, he didn't take that so lightly. He just, things just didn't get good after that, you know. Then my grandparents died, and then my grandmother died, and then, my grandmother passed first, and then my grandfather. And then my mom's best friend, she passed away around, this all happened like it was like year after year during my junior high school years. There's another damn cat. A lot of death in the family. And the thing is, nobody really talked about it. It happened, and I just felt like I just was falling deeper and deeper into a trance. Like, my music, the keyboards, I felt like, I'd outgrew them. I learned what I need to learn with that. And, I was really into technology. So I had my first CD player and tape recorder. My auntie had bought me a tape recorder. So I would mimic cartoon voices on my tape recorder. It's kind of how I kept myself occupied. I was always learning something or taking something apart and putting it back together or fixing stuff around the apartment. I was a good kid, and my brother, not so. He didn't stay on the good path so much. After my grandfather passed, my mom's was like, we may have missed one Sunday, and that was like the Sunday prior to the funeral. I'm not even sure what date the funerals were on, but it was like the following, week, we were at her church, which was Evergreen Baptist Church in Oakland. And it was a big church, really big church. All these people and a lot of old people, and they had like calendar clubs and just a bunch of weird church stuff. Me and my brother, from time to time, we would sneak out. I sat in the same place every Sunday in the balcony and listened to these yahoos talk about what they had on Saturday night, and soul food. And it was just weird. I couldn't wait to start working, But getting to the secret that was shared with me last night. Everything I've shared so far is it's been my life as a child, growing up into my teens. So I'll stop about there, and I'll share the secret that my sister shared with me. So my sister's about maybe like 11 years older than me. So we have, I'm the middle child. So she's like the oldest. And then there's a brother, and then there's another sister, and there's me, and there's my other brother I was just talking about. There's another brother under there, and then there's the youngest brother, who's like in his, I think he's in his 30s, early 30s or something like that. I think we're like 10 years apart. So, last night, right now, currently, I'm staying with my sister. That's a whole nother story. It's the first time I have not been on my own in over like 10 years or so, 10, 15 years. I've always lived alone or either had a roommate, mostly friends I know, friends I like. Never lived with strangers. I've never lived with somebody I didn't know. So I'm staying with my sister while I, get back into the workforce. I'd taken some time off, resigned from my job, and took on a few consulting gigs, and now I'm currently, looking for work now as in director of facilities and operations and construction. The past 10 years, I built a Jewish temple in Hollywood. Prior to that, I was a facility manager for a couple of .com companies. Well, I liked working. I like working more than school. School bored the hell out of me. I was more advanced than a lot of the stuff they were teaching. So I like being around people and learning from people, and the workforce is always good for me. And I knew how to manage my money, and I could cook. I am very independent. Just going through some things. We're all going through some stuff. And so my sister, last night we had a little spill out. My niece is, off in college. So my sister has a house, and she has, 2-bedroom. And I've been using I asked could I use, my niece's desk to work on my resume and really do some work. And when I came through last night, after having a really awesome day yesterday, I actually did a podcast about yesterday. I went to ride my bike, and I ran right into Ciclavia in Culver City. And that was really cool because Ciclavia is bicycling. Everybody gets on their bike and they ride in the city streets. They block the streets, and it was just really, really cool. So I'd come down from that. That was cool. Something told me to hang out a little longer at the beach, because that's where I rode my bike to the beach, parked in Culver City, and then rode the rest of the way. Something told me to just hang out a little longer so I can come home late and just go to sleep, but I didn't. So I came home. I came here back to my sister's, and as I was walking in, my niece was walking out with her son, and I was like, wow, I know you guys are going to be here. I would have, I've been in Ciclavia. And she's like, oh, yeah. And she has a little kid, my niece does. He's like 2 years old, about to be 3. Cutest kid ever. Smartest heck. He's like, how'd you get here? I was like, what? He has a pacifier in his mouth. I was like, dude, what are you doing pacifying your mouth? You can talk. You don't need a pacifier. And he's like, how'd you get here? I was like, my car's around the corner. He's like, oh, okay. And so then I go in and fire my computer because I need to work on my resume. And my sister goes, she's like, oh, when you said you want to use her desk, I thought it was just that one time. No, it was like going to be like, again, I don't really want anybody there. I was like, well, it's not nobody, it's me. And, well, I don't really want anybody in there. I was like, well, I asked my niece, she said it was cool. And she's like, well, it's not her room. I was like, I get that. I was like, what's the big problem? I said, about me working on this desk or working in the living room. And she's like, well, why you can't work? I don't see why you can't work on that desk in the living room. I was like, because it's the living room. And at the time, I was starting to get flustered and angry because I'm like, what's the big deal about me working on the desk with the computer? Is there something else to this? I know I'm infringing on your home, but I've explained some things to you, what's going on, and there's something else to this. What's happening? And she's like, and I said, I'm not like anybody. I'm your brother. I'm you're the closest living relative to me. What's the problem? And she's like, I'm just saying this, that, and the other. I was like, wow. I was like, if you don't want me here, I'll just leave. I'll just, how about just pack my stuff up and go? And I'm like, where the hell am I going to go? So I leave out, and, she closes her door, and I pack a few things in my bag and put it in the car, and I drive off. And I'm driving down the street and I'm like, where the hell am I going to go? Where am I going to go? I don't have anywhere to go. And this voice was like, yeah, just go back. Enough with this, You don't really know her. She don't really know you. Although you guys are brothers and sisters, and she's been here. She's come through for you, this, that, and the other. But there's something to it. You guys need to talk, like family talk, because our family don't talk. We don't talk. I'm not close to any of my siblings, but her. And so I get back in the car, and before I take off, and I'm halfway down the block, couple of blocks, and I turn back around. I called one of my boys. He was eating dinner. And I couldn't talk to him. I called my homegirl. She was busy, and called my niece, and she was like, "Oh, I'll call you back in half an hour," or something like that. And I was like, "Wow, have anybody talked to about this?" All right. Well, you know what? Let's be adults. Let's go in there and talk. So I go back in, and I was like, "Yo, let's talk. You want to talk? Let's talk." She comes in. Well, I hope this is not gonna be all night, because I don't have all night. I gotta wake up in the morning. I was like, wow. I'm like, whoa. I mean, I'm trying to have an adult conversation. That's how you start off. I was like, why you gotta be like that? Why you gotta be so cold? And I said, you mentioned to me about, a few months back about, how your daughter is this way and that way, and how your oldest daughter is this way. I said, you know what? You guys are all, you don't see it, but you guys are all the same. I said, from my mom, from mother to daughter to niece to, you guys are passing this down. You guys all act the same way. You don't see it, but I see it. I said, you guys got this coldness about you, and I don't understand it. I'm a very empathetic person. I'm a very nice dude, a positive mofo. And I keep being taken advantage of. I don't get it. I don't understand it. I was like, what is it? There's something that I'm missing here. Something that I feel like, I'm missing. Is there something you want to share? And what I said after that, I said, you know what? None of the family is close. This, that, and the other, blah, blah. I said, I have friends, and I know stories of people who have had funerals and family and whatnot, and fighting at funerals. And I said, that's how I see what would happen. I said, our mom's is she's an elderly, she's old in her age, she's not going to be here forever. I said, but you know what? At this point, I don't even feel like I want to be a part. I don't want to be at the funeral. I said, because I already know what's going to happen. None of us talk. We got all this pent up tension, and am I supposed to pretend when I'm there? I was like, I don't even want to be a part of that. I want to pay respects, but I don't want to be around you guys. I was like, because I'm tired of this. She's like, well, if that's, how you feel, he's like, and then she goes off into telling me exactly the story. And she's like, well, that's perspective, this, that, and the other, your mom this, your mom that. And then she goes on to tell me about my dad. And she's like, your mom's had a few breakdowns. I was like, what? She's like, yeah, she's had a few breakdowns in her life. I said, what do you mean? She's like, well, your dad was a jackass. Nobody liked this dude. He was a womanizer. He slept with everybody in the neighborhood, all the women in the neighborhood, including your mom, and he would, beat on your mother. And she's like, one day, he would come, she said he would come through and eat up all our food, and we barely have food. And he was just a jackass. I was like, what? I never heard this before in my life. I'm damn near 50 years old. I never heard any of this in my life. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. She's like, no, he slept with everybody, and everybody knew it, and nobody did anything. And that's why I left. I couldn't wait to leave. And your mom, she lost it a couple of times. She's had breakdowns. I was like, I mean, I'm still in wow mode, to tell the truth. This is just last night, so I'm still in wow mode. Because all this time, I've felt in my soul that something was off, something was different. There was something about me. There was something about the energy in the family. It was something definitely different about me, but I felt like people were tiptoeing around stuff, like they were being extra nice for, it's like nobody could be that nice, or maybe they can, but there's something. That's intuition. And if you want to call God being that intuition, I'm going to say God is your intuition. A source, supreme source connecting with you, giving you information all the time, telling you what is, while these low vibrational beings are keeping you at level to say what isn't. You're just imagining things. It's not what it is. This, that, and the other. Turns out this guy. Now here's the thing. If I go back to the story about my brother, saying, being upset and crying because, my dad says that, we're not his kids, or your mother put that on me. That was just some hateful stuff to say. We're definitely his kids. My brother looks just like him. And I look like my mom. But over the years, I've felt like, there was something off, and maybe it was because, my father wasn't in my life, maybe if he was in my life, things would have gone a whole lot different, and thinking like, what man doesn't want to be in his kid's life? I don't have any kids. That's a whole nother story. But according to my grandmother, she said, yeah, you've always been like that. You always said that you never wanted any kids, and, since you were a kid. And, I was like, interesting. So when I hear that my father was a womanizer and a woman beater and an abuser, and it just made so much sense of who I am right now today. I'm a very empathetic, respectable person, very positive, very good energy dude. I just, I felt like I've just been taken advantage of for being so nice to people, places, and things. And I felt like I just couldn't move forward in my life because there was this thing that I didn't know about. And up in last night, my sister tells me what it's all about. I couldn't believe it. But I could believe it. Everything that has happened in my life now, it totally makes sense. Where do I go from here? I really don't know. I've gone through therapy. The first thing I kept saying, I was saying, I've gone through therapy. I've seen psychiatrists. I've talked to rabbis. I've talked to monks. I've gone to Tulum, Mexico. I've had Reiki done. I've read every metaphysical self-help book on the freaking planet, and none of that could have helped me in knowing this. But when I think about the psychic work, the messages that I've received over time, and when I think about that, it's like that was God just giving me, telling me what's going on. And I didn't get it at all. I didn't even remotely get it. And how is it that my mom has gone this long, or anybody, the whole family? How have people in my life, in my family, gone this long at this performance of not ever sharing that with me and my brother? That my father was a jackass. not just a jackass. I want to say other things, but I didn't click the explicit language before I started this podcast. I thought about it though. I really, really thought about it. Because my mom is still living in the apartments that I grew up in. And at one point in my life, I've been making money. Every year I've been, building my life and just hitting potholes every now and then, just throwing off my whole shebang because I'm having these issues. But at the premise of all this, I'm like, all right, so my brother, was messed off because he didn't, my dad says these things to him. I create this animosity to him because he said these things to us. And for what? For someone that was abusive to my mother? I mean, do I give one damn about this guy even more? No, I don't. And I'm not blaming. I'm not shooting any blame. It's just that I guess the whole reason for this podcast is to say, look, man, if you got something to say, if you secrets are not okay. Secrets in the family are not okay. And I can only imagine that, like my sister she was saying that she was shocked that I didn't know this. It's like, yeah, I've talked to my grandmother, I talk to her all the time, talk to my mom all the time. Said I haven't even gotten a clue that this had happened. And that means that this was happening while I was in the womb. There's certain things I feel like this, or I have felt on the emotional trip, because all the things I'm reading now about, who we are as humans, and I saw this, what do you call it, mammogram or when you can see the baby in the womb, and it was showing this baby jumping around in the womb. And when I saw this, I was like, it tripped me out, because I thought about myself. I was like, that seems really, really familiar to me. I think I've been there. I think I've been on the receiving end of receiving toxic energy from, and it had to be from my mother and from what she was going through with my dad. They never got married. And this guy was sleeping with everybody. And then he would bring them around each other like he was a pimp. He might as well, in anybody's hindsight, yeah, he was a pimp. He was pimping everybody. And I'm like, how come no one ever did? Then I find out that my uncle, who I at one point looked up to, was the same way. And they all learned it from their father. In Louisiana, my grandmother told the story about her being beat up on and jealousy from my grandfather, and she escaped. She told me a story just 2 years ago. It was on my birthday. She called me for my birthday. And I told her I just was not feeling good. I just wasn't feeling good at all about anything. She tells me a story about how she escaped a abusive, jealous husband. And I was like, wow. So if you hadn't escaped this guy, I wouldn't be alive. That's all I had heard. Nothing else. Nothing about how my father abused my mother, hit on her. My sister says she drew a knife on him. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if I believe it. But she says she went and got the knife and was going to stab him. And, she didn't. But she's been living with that as well. we talked about a lot last night, and I'm not sure how I feel. I really don't. I'm still processing it. But I know that I need to get out of this situation with living with my sister. I mean, I'm only supposed to have been here a couple months, but not even that long. I wasn't supposed to be here this long. But I guess this is why I'm here. This is why God intervened in the things that I've been going through, and it leads up to me because I don't think any other way we could have had this talk. And now I can move forward with my life. I want to get my mom out of those apartments. Can you imagine being physically, mentally abused by a man? And she used to say something all the time. You make me sick. You kids make me sick. And she would just kind of lose it sometimes. So like, man, this lady is really highly stressed out. Jeez, calm down, lady. But now it all makes sense. It all makes sense. I am not a fan of any man that feels like he can put his hands on a woman. And for any woman that listens to this podcast, that, you know, this is what I want to say before I close this out. It's going into 86 minutes. You know, I'm not married because, you know, my grandparents on my mother's side were married for 47 years. That to me meant something. Meaning, you know, it may have been during those times where marriage, you know, you had to marry the woman, and I don't know if that's so for now. And the other thing is that, you know, I've been with women before, and mostly I don't sleep around. If I meet someone that I feel is cool and we hit it off, that's my girlfriend. I'm not messing around. I'm not cheating. I don't need multiple women because, you know, I don't understand how dudes do it. I really don't. I mean, how can you have multiple women, spread yourself around like that? Lying, you know, just lying. Not. So I've never been that guy. And I don't understand how a guy could be like that. I really can't. If you got something good, why would you need to mess around? And if you got communication, you know, talk about it. How hard is it to talk about it? I would say to women, I would say to guys, you know, keep your hands to yourself. That's what we were told when we were little. Keep your hands to yourself. Keep your goddamn hands to yourself. But don't you ever touch a woman in a manner that like you would a guy. Are you kidding me? I mean, what do you get from that? What would you get from putting your hand around a woman's neck? I mean, that's bad energy. And you should be able to tell. Women should be a little smarter, a little more intuitive with who you're dating, that you're not making yourself so desperate to be with some man that, you know, the minute he tries to control you, that you need to be around him. You don't need to be around him. And if he feels like he can take something, yo, hit him in the nuts, cut that fool, whatever you need to do, take him down. Because if a guy feels like he can take something from you, he's going to continue doing it. Can't give no dude no control. There's no man on the planet that's worth that. Your life, your psychological makeup. I don't know this guy R. Kelly. I loved his music back in the days. When the stuff started happening with the Aaliyah thing, I stopped listening to his stuff. It was something about his lyrics that I did not feel was Cool. And then with the thing with the kid pissing on the girl, I was like, yo, that's disgusting. Two, you would never want to be in the same category as, even if you didn't do it. I mean, no one could ever say, oh, Pat used to love to piss on girls. Never. No one could ever say anything of ill fate about me and women. Ever. I don't understand. I don't want to understand. But I have to tell you this, boy, that if women don't start standing up for themselves and, ask questions. That's how you get to know a guy. Ask questions. There's no reason to sleep with him right off the bat. If you feel like you need to, go ahead. But there's no need to. Sex is sex, but sex is better with somebody that you really connect with. And if you feel like he's changing, talk it out. Even if you're married, no, your property, his property, please. Nobody owns anybody. You're God's property. And if you have any, my grandfather didn't like this guy. And I knew that. My grandfather did not like my father. Now, I'd heard that before, but I didn't know why. I just thought maybe he thought my father's side of the family was a bunch of heathens. He was a pastor. He was a reverend. He knew something. I'm going to end the podcast on that note. I'm going to be all right, people. I'm going to be okay. I got a podcast. I have a bakery. I'm going to find a location. I'm going to get a new gig. I just had a very awesome meeting with some awesome dudes, and we're going to do big things. And I'm going to move my mom into a place where she can be, where she's not, where it doesn't feel like a prison. Can you imagine like living in a place where a man abused you, or can you imagine that? That's what I went to sleep on that note last night. And then I thought about my brother. He's in jail. He's in jail because he was, he just was, I don't know why he's in jail. But he's there. And, like I said, my mom, the best way to punish him was to keep him indoors, take away his freedom so he couldn't go outside. Can you imagine being locked up and not having your freedom? I can only feel and understand what he could be going through. I can only imagine what my mom is in her mind. Prison of the mind. This is the Intelligent Human Voice Podcast Network. If you've listened this far, thank you. Thank you for listening. Moving forward. Moving forward, life, it just goes up from here. It can only go up from here. It can only get better. Has to get better. I know I'm here for a reason, and I have to fulfill that reason. I can't mope. I can't let the past eat me alive. I have to be all that I can be, and help out where I can, and maybe one day find a woman who would accept me for who I am, and make a family. I don't know. I don't know if I just don't know about that part. Really don't. I spoke to my ex tonight. She didn't know anything about that either. She didn't know anything about anything. We're talking about other stuff, and she brings up this earlier today. She brings some stuff back from the past. Oh, I was in love with you, and you said you weren't in love with me, and I'm like, that was 5 years ago. What did I know about love as a kid? What did I know about love? I didn't know what love was because I just didn't. I mean, you're going to fault me on that, but 20 years later, you're going to throw that in my face? Perspective. I know what love is now. Life has been a trip, a journey. It's been a journey. It's been quite a journey. There's another cat. It's another cat. All right, peoples. 97 minutes, and I'm gonna go ahead and hit the stop button. I don't know what I'm gonna talk about tomorrow, but it won't be about today. It'll be about what's moving forward. From the Bay to LA and beyond, this is the PatMan. I wish you peace, love, happiness, joy, and just remind you to keep your hands to yourself. Be good to people. Put out what you want. Don't worry about what you don't want. Hug somebody. Love somebody.